Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Still Only 35 Cents. Great to have you here. This is the Merry Monday Mailcall Show. It's Monday here in Australia. Late night, probably where you are in either the US, UK, or the rest of the world. But we're here first on a Monday morning to open up and show some great books, some great items that I've picked up over the last week. What we're adding to the show as well this week is a couple of responses to some of the comments that we've had through the months from various viewers and showing some other books around that as well. So we'll sort of bit of a pivot in terms of the structure of the show and how we're going to sort of present it. But the essence of the show will still be the same. You will still see us presenting books and items that we've got over the last week, and hopefully some special guests over time. I'm going to be really trying to make an effort in terms of reaching out to the community and getting some people on the show, because I think the more the merrier. It's always good to see not just what I've got this week, but also what you have out there. And again, if you're in the chat or in the comments post the live stream, love to hear what you've picked up this week. And what we might do is actually do a bit of a showcase in terms of some of the books that you have picked up over the last week within the structure of the show. We've got a couple of people in the chat. First, we've got Dino. Great to see you as always. Thank you for joining. It's wonderful. 6 p.m. here in Virginia. Wonderful. There you go. That's what I like to hear. Trying to time the actual show so that actually we get the best coverage for all of you comic book collectors and fans out there. So welcome, Dino. Always a pleasure to see you. So one of the things I wanted to cover off, actually, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. The usual stuff. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll get notifications on future content, shows like this, videos that we put out once a week. You'll notice that I've actually started doing this live show once a week and then a video once a week. That's the ongoing way we're going to be presenting from now on. And then if you like this video, please hit that like button. And we welcome comments. We welcome. We've had some great comments over the months that we've been doing this. And as I say, we'll be pivoting a little bit in terms of the show, so that through here we'll use this as a way to sort of cover some of those comments that have come up, and some of them are quite inspirational in terms of content and ideas. So want to be a bit more interactive with that. So please, if you've got any ideas, or you want to see some books, or you want me to dig into some of the certain key parts of comic book history, by all means, leave a comment down below and we will do our best to answer them on the Merry Monday Mailcall Show. Okay, so I think probably the best place to start is the usual. I'm going to give it a name at some point, but we'll switch to our regular overhead camera so you can get a sense of some of the books. So the first one, and this is actually back to a comment from a regular viewer, Charlie Dog 7683. He brought to my attention a whole bunch of portfolios with some great art on them. He had picked up one of these, and it piqued my interest. So I went to try and find one myself. So I've managed to pick one up, and it arrived this week. In addition, there's a whole host of these as well, but maybe I'll switch to the overhead view so you can see what I'm talking about. And then we'll cover the history of these sort of portfolios. I've done a little bit of digging, still a bit more to do, but I can give you a sense of how many of these things there were out there. So if you give me a minute, I'll just switch the stage. There you go. So that should be working. If you can hear me okay, thumbs up. So this is the Incredible Hulk SQP Publications Marvel Superhero Portfolio set. Now, this comes with 4 amazing art prints of featuring the Incredible Hulk in a number of different scenes. And you can see here, you've got the Night of the Abomination, you've got a rematch with The Thing, you've got Underwater Armageddon with Namor Submariner, and then you've got At All Costs Destroy the Hulk. Now, this was issued in 1980, I don't know too much about it in terms of what was the licensing agreement with Marvel and where they came from. The artists were Steve Fassner and a guy called Rich Larson. At first, I was thinking, is this Eric Larson? But no, this is a guy called Rich Larson. Now, what they did is they came sealed in these packs. Now, for the benefit of you all on the stream, I took the benefit of cracking this one open just so we could get a good look at the actual art prints. But you can see here, you do get a sense of each one of these individual pictures, and they are quite striking painted covers that you would see. So with that, maybe let's flip over and we'll go through them one by one. So first up, we have this amazing image of the Hulk versus the Thing. So the title is Rematch with the Thing. Thing in a suit, smoking a cigar, and Hulk in his traditional purple pants, all torn. But just look at how beautiful that is in terms of the art here. So what I'm thinking with these, now that I've cracked them out, I will probably get these framed because they are so striking in terms of the colors, in terms of the content, the dynamic poses, and you'll see more of that as we go through them. So, we have another person, Dale. Hi, Dale. Great to see you. Welcome to the stream. Let me know what you think of these. I'm very impressed with these so far, and we'll come to the other sets shortly. So this is the Hulk rematch with the Thing. Next on the list is Underwater Armageddon, where the Hulk is battling a barrage of Atlanteans and the Submariner at the front here. So again, you can see the Hulk is less in focus on this, but again, you can see that beautiful styling and that great image of an angry Submariner. And what's interesting here is you almost see gills in terms of the Submariner there. So that's a bit of a fascinating one in terms of how they introduced the artwork, and his amazing squid-like sword at the front and his traditional scalefish pants that he used to wear. What I also find fascinating is the Hulk's wearing a piece of rope to hold his trousers up, which frankly I don't think he's going to need, given the fact that he's probably bursting at the seams in those things anyway. But I think that's an interesting touch. But again, you can see these are stunning prints that you'd love to sort of have on any wall. So the next one is this: at all costs destroy the Hulk, where he's protecting a damsel in distress, which again, I'm not necessarily sure that the Hulk would be protecting damsel unless that's Betty Ross, which is great. And this gigantic missiles flying towards him that he's smashing through. And again, his new trademark rope belt that he's wearing. But yeah, look at that. The dynamic of that picture is pretty impressive. So yeah, super happy to have that. And then to finish us off, one of my favorite characters, the Abomination, one of Hulk's classic villains. So again, you can see here, there's a little bit of comedic element in terms of the cop's face here. But again, you can see how striking that image is with the two of them in battle, and really beautifully realized Abomination here versus the Hulk. So yeah, again, I'm super happy to get these. I probably will get these framed and put up at some point. In particular, this one, which is extremely striking in my mind, and a great piece of art, really showcasing the power of the Hulk there. So, but as I mentioned, this is not the first of these that I've come across. There were actually three more of these sets, and I'll share those with you now. Let me just bring them up. So there we go. Where is my... So this is... So the first one I wanted to share with you is this one here. And I wonder if you can see it all. Let's move to that screen and remove. And let's do this. Just 1 minute. This is always confusing. I will move this over here and it will give us a much better view of what I'm talking about. So let's add. There you go. Now, if I do this and this, there you go. You get a better look at it. So this is the amazing Spider-Man portfolio that was also printed in 1980. And you can see here, again, same sort of thing. You get four pictures. The Doctor will kill you now. So Dr. Octopus versus Spider-Man there. The Lizard's Reptilian Revenge with the Lizard in there. An editorial reply, which has J. Jonah Jameson in the Daily Bugle with Spider-Man swinging out the window, and then the Green Goblin versus Spider-Man, when a goblin comes a calling. The other two that I did find, again, let me just bring those up for you. How does this work? The other two I found was, let's see if I can find it. There's the Spider-Man. And then there was this amazing X-Men one as well. So the X-Men one had, this one had the Sentinels battle. So this is set one. Again, 4 prints. Beware My Children, the Sentinel. That image, I've seen images on that online, and it's a very impressive image. Battle for the Savage Land, the power-hungry mutant Magneto, and then Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters with the new X-Men and the old X-Men in the background. Let's just change the tab, and then I'll show you the second set. So X-Men was the only one of the three, to get a second set as well. So maybe if I move to this one, you'll see it. There you go. And as you can see here, they had a set 2 where you had a Wolverine in a sewer. I'm the best there is at what I do. Then you had Beware the Danger Room. And then a one with Alpha Flights of Mutants of Canada Unite. And then to close us off, a memoriam to Jean Grey in all of her forms, including the Phoenix. So Jean Grey, 1956 to 1980. So I thought that would be an interesting one to share with you. I'm going to be looking out for these. Let me just move this back so I can chat with you all directly. There you go. There you go. Much better. So yeah, I'll be looking out for those now. I haven't seen them in a while. Who's on the line? We've got Rob. How are you doing? Just got here in Utah. Thought I would stop in and say hello. Smash the thumbs up button. Thank you for being. Thank you. I was actually going to mention that, Rob. I was going to be talking about the amazing show that you did yesterday, and thank you very much for hosting me. And it was so much fun. Really enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please go to Rob's channel. I'll leave a link in the description. Great channel in terms of content and the community. One thing I do want to mention is everything that Rob does goes towards comics curing cancer. It's a really good cause. Some of us have been affected by cancer over the years, so anything that we can all do to support that, I think it would be great. And thanks for dropping in, Rob. As always, a pleasure. Right, and who else have we got join? I don't think we do at the moment, so this is good. All right, so let's move back to the books. Now, you're probably all here for this Marvel UK Titans book. Now, sticking with the theme of posters, wanted to share this one with you because I did get this week as well. And it's a great little book from Marvel UK. Let me just close some of these tabs up here and give you a sense of it. Now, this book is from October 1975, which is when this book was launched. Let's just add to stage. Now, this... Oh, I have to keep messing with it. I need an assistant, otherwise it never works. Let's just bring this up here. Remove. That's better. And we're back to the traditional view. So let's zoom in here so you get a better sense. So this is Titans #1, launched in October 1975. You'll notice something different about this book. Probably the big thing is the fact that it is landscape rather than portrait. Now, the reason for this, and this was quite an innovative format in Marvel UK at the time, because it allowed them to get double the amount of pages on the story. So you got far more content within this book for less cash, essentially. So you'd get, in the traditional model of Marvel UK, every week you'd get one issue spread over 2 weeks. So basically you'd have half an issue every week from US reprints. Whereas in this model, you could basically have the full issue if you wanted to. Now, they launched this with Captain Marvel, the Submariner, the Inhumans, and so you see the Inhumans as the lead strip. Again, all black and white, which was traditional for Marvel UK. And you get reprints of classic issues, such as The Origin of Captain America. And again, you sort of dip in and out. There's a lot of Jack Kirby in this one, in particular, which is always good to see. You get the occasional house ad for the other titles that were running at the time. So this was around the time, I think there was 5 titles running at once at this point. So they had the Superheroes, Spider-Man Comics Weekly, Mighty World of Marvel, which is the original Marvel UK book, Planet of the Apes, and I think Dracula Lives was also running at this point. Planet of the Apes and Dracula Lives ran at the same time. So this would have been title number 6 in terms of the launch of Marvel UK books. Then you'd get Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., again, another classic reprint. Submariner. So you can see there's a whole plethora of content in here in terms of what you get. Now, here's the thing that I wanted to share with you. We'll come back to that. So this was traditionally attached. I've taken this one off because I wanted to sort of show it with you today. But again, it would normally be attached to the staples in there, and you'd be able to, you'd have to take it out very, very carefully, which I have done in this case. And then you get some more sort of house ads, again, continuing the story. And there's that Captain Marvel story we were talking about again. So you can see it's a great way to read these books. And in the UK, what ended up happening with Marvel UK is that they switched not only the Titans to this format, but they also switched the Spider-Man Weekly to this format as well, so that they got more content. The problem with that, though, was that allowed them to catch up really quickly with where the US printings were. And so they had to stop that, I think, towards the end of the 70s. It was probably about 1977, around about the time that Captain Britain was launched, where they reverted back to the old format, so that they could actually keep the Spider-Man reprints at the same time here. And one of the things you'll find interesting, you get a lot of stuff where there was a lot of UK events as well that were always advertised. So this one here is the Marvel Art Exhibition, original artwork at the Institute of Contemporary Arts in London. So there was quite a collecting scene at this point within the UK. And it's interesting to see that some of that original art was displayed there. And then you get an ad on the back for the 1976 annuals. I do have a mail call coming soon, and I'll share that with you all around all of these annuals from, I think, from Fantastic and Terrific in terms of these hardcover annuals that came out. I've got some of the really early ones coming as well, which will be a very interesting one to show you. They had some amazing covers. You can see that Hulk one there with the Herb Trimpe cover. And again, a Spider-Man Annual 1976, which I think is the 1978 Spectacular. Wouldn't have been the 1978 Spectacular Spider-Man. It's a riff on the 1968, Spectacular Spider-Man magazine format that Marvel put out. So that's the poster. And we do have someone else in the chat. Let's just bring that up. Lettuce Comics. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Any questions, let me know. So let's go to this poster, because this is a very interesting poster. And you may or may not have seen this. So this is a beautiful Buscema poster. Very crowded, to say the least, but stunning in terms of the character mix that you got. So there's a whole character mix of the stories and characters that were being printed at that time. Let's just see if I can get a better sense of that poster for you. There you go. So you can see here you got the Titans. Obviously, the Titans logo at the bottom, Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, Black Panther, Captain Marvel. Everyone that you can imagine in there is featured. A great piece of art to be able to put on your wall. So I will probably take this, flatten it out, and get it framed, because this is quite a stunning piece. Now, the background for this one, so as I say, it's a Buscema poster with art by... Okay, I'll keep it open for you so you can keep having a look at it. With inks by Joe Sinnott. Now, the story behind this is that it originated as a poster for the Mighty Marvel Comic Con in 1975, which I will try and bring up for you now so you can see what that poster looks like. Let's just bring that. But it is a fascinating piece to have that reprinted. And if you can hunt down a copy of Titans 1 with the poster intact, it's a cheap way of getting this original convention poster. Now, let's see if everyone can see that. There you go. So that's the original convention poster that was released in 1975. Now, that was around March timeframe. Obviously, this was not in October. But again, you can see a really nice way to own something like that. You'll notice the placement's slightly off, so the signatures have been moved to this side and recreated while the Titans logo at the bottom on the new poster. But you can see the signatures down here and some of the trademark information. So, bit of an interesting one for you there to share. Let me just bring another tab up and show you. I was lucky enough to find this as well. Let's dig it out. This is the original pencils that Buscema did, and you can see here, look at that, just fascinating, just great to have that. I do have a neat version as well to show you, so let's bring that one up. Where's the inks one? Here's the inks with Joe Sinnott's inks over the top as well. So again, you can find one of these convention posters is pretty rare. But again, if you can find just a Titans one with the poster intact, I'd urge you to hunt it out, because it's quite a stunning piece to have in your collection. So yeah, that is the Titans #1. It ran for 58 issues before it was absorbed into the Spider-Man title. So it wasn't, it lasted around about a year, 52 weeks in the year. So yeah, just over a year. And one of the interesting things about the Titans run was the fact, and also the Spectacular Spider-Man run at the time, was the fact that you had to, let me just bring this up again. There you go. The piece that was interesting about the Titans in particular and the Spider-Man landscape was that you had to essentially that Marvel team had to recreate some of the covers to fit that landscape format. There's some really good examples. So maybe for a future show, I'll pull out some books where we can take the original US copies and put them side by side by the Titan reprints, so you get a sense of how these were done. And the work that the Marvel team had to do in terms of pulling these together. So that's that one for you. Next up, another pickup that came through this week. Now, this is an interesting one. Wasn't necessarily in the market for this, but it's another one to go to my amazing Spider-Man run. Managed to pick up a 9.2 copy of Spider-Man 127 with the view that I might crack open this, give it a press. It's an old label, as you can see, the really old CGC label. We have Mr. Aikens in the house. I've been looking for a Michael Golden poster from the early 80s. Had one as a kid. We can't find an original one. Which one was that? I have the Michael Golden portfolio. Is that the Doctor Strange one? I do have that one, and I'm planning to show that at some point. But what other posters outside of that did Michael Golden do? Be good to hear that. So this is, as I say, spectacular, amazing Spider-Man 127 9.2. I may crack this, but it was a reasonably cheap purchase, so wanted to get it. Beautiful Ramita art in terms of the cover there, so happy to grab that. Always a good book to pick up a relatively cheap Spider-Man. And again, 9.2, I might have some issues that I can sort of fix with a clean and press and maybe get a bit higher, but still my burgeoning amazing Spider-Man run continues. Still don't have too many at the moment, but this is one to add to that. It looks in pretty good shape. Don't know, I can't see anything that is a major issue, so I'll just go back and review the graders notes and see what can be done with this one. Another one that came through, I've showed this. This came through recently, and I've showed it on a couple of other guest streams. But this one I thought would be an interesting one to show, especially given the Godzilla craze at the moment. Another question from Dino. Did 60s Marvel Saturday morning cartoons in the UK originally Australia? Still really corny to watch, but you can see them on YouTube. Yes, the Captain. I just watched it. What was that? Captain America versus Zemo original story with Rick Jones in it. Those 1960s. We did have them and used to love them. And I wanted to. It would be good to see if there's a DVD or some other sort of type of collection where you can get them in one place. Because I used to love those too. I mean, the animation was shockingly bad, but it was all using Jack Kirby's original art. Is my understanding that was all repurposed artwork that they took and used that through the show. So I'll do a bit more digging and see about that, because I enjoyed those shows immensely, particularly the songs that went with them. So yeah, crazy stuff, crazy. So this one is Gorgo, Monster from the Sea. This first edition. So this is the UK price variant. Not a surprise, really. What's on the comic rack? The Marvel marching order poster with a group of Marvel characters, the Watcher looking over them. I will look out for that, Mr. Aiken. That sounds fascinating. I can't remember that. I'll see if I can dig an image out. Maybe share it next week, because and if you would love to come on, it would be my pleasure to host you, sir, next week, and we can talk about that in particular, because that sounds fascinating. I can't remember ever seeing it. Maybe when you show me, I will remember it, but right now I can't think of that one. So this is Gorgo, Monster of the Sea. Now, this was a movie in the 60s, so this was like a reaction to Godzilla. So this was a UK film based in the UK, which had a sort of rip-off of Godzilla. And this book from Charlton was essentially released to cover that. Now, what's interesting about this is it's all drawn by Steve Ditko. Beautifully rendered Steve Ditko images here, with Gorgo, the sea monster. Unfortunately, this copy's a little bit loose in terms of the staples, so just have to be a bit careful turning the pages here. But look at this great realization of Steve Ditko's art as it relates to the story of Gorgo. I think you can watch Gorgo the whole movie on YouTube, so seek it out. It's not a bad movie. I remember it playing when I was a kid on Saturday mornings. It was a great sort of monster movie. Not Godzilla by any stretch, but it sort of filled a gap where US and UK monsters fans could get their fix. Interestingly, there is a John Carpenter liked the idea of Gorgo so much that there does exist a John Carpenter film of Godzilla versus Gorgo. So it'd be interesting as a MonsterVerse if they ever bring Gorgo into that MonsterVerse piece, because it is a fascinating sort of piece to see the Gorgo creature alongside Godzilla. And I don't think that film from John Carpenter has ever been shown. I think it was when he was in his university days, but there is existence of that film. So I did a bit of research on that, and yes, it does exist. And similar to how the thing that was interesting about Gorgo is the film is a sort of cross between Godzilla and King Kong, because you can see here they capture Gorgo and then they take it to London to basically show off Gorgo as the eighth wonder of the world. So very similar to sort of King Kong in that regard. Gorgo, of course, escapes and wreaks havoc in London. And you can see here. And the only way that the Gorgo is stopped is it comes across its baby and then retreats into the sea. Again, a beautiful piece of history here in terms of Gorgo, and you can see the great artwork from Ditko and others in terms of how this book was realized. So I picked this up relatively cheap, but it was a very interesting book, I felt, in terms of the Godzilla and the MonsterVerse. And who knows, you may see Gorgo at some point, or even that John Carpenter film. And then last today, in terms of new stuff that I wanted to share with you, I did cover some original art recently from Fury magazine. Now, apologies, this is backwards. And the reason why it's backwards is it's a print proof for Fury issue 11. Now, Fury was another Marvel UK book, which was essentially created by Neil Tennant, who's the ex Pet Shop Boys, or is in Pet Shop Boys, but was the ex Marvel UK editor. And he felt that they should create a war title within Marvel UK. This is towards the late end of the Marvel UK books. I think around about 1977. Realistically, Marvel UK in its sort of classic Bronze Age era ended at 1970, first in the beginning of 1979, when Des Skin came on and tried to reinvigorate the books and create more original content rather than just reprints. But this was a title that essentially Neil Tennant created to answer for those sort of war books, and it had a number of strips inside. What it always had was these beautiful covers by Carlos Esquerra, who went on to do a lot of work for 2000 AD, Strontium Dog, Judge Dredd, etc. And so I've sort of picked up a few pieces of this. I've got an original art piece that I've showed on previous shows, but this is print proof. And as you can see here, this is the actual issue that you get to go with it. What you'd get inside, as I say, is some classic war stories from Marvel reprinted, some Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos stories. So all black and white with the zipper tone on top to give a bit of extra shading. And then I get a few pieces of mail, weapons of war, some records of that, another classic war story, Trip Flare. And all of these were taken Then you get the Battle for Ben Grimm, Captain Savage, and his Leatherneck Raiders. What's interesting here is you've got another piece of original art that was created for this in a sort of more modern style. And then you've got the original strip next to it. So I'm not sure in this, and I have to go back and check this, whether this Battle for Ben Grimm, it's interesting choice of name, because Ben Grimm, as we know, is the Thing. And now I'm a little intrigued as to see if there was this linkage to Ben Grimm, or whether that was just a bit of a coincidence there, or if that was the first. The one thing that you do get here is a detail of where they got the different publishing from. So 1977 Marvel Comics, then they've got Bard Publishing Co. 1972 Captain Savage's Leatherneck. It appears that they were sub-licensing from Bard Publishing as well. So I have to do a bit of digging in terms of the books here, but I do have some more Furies coming. I think I've got the entire run, and so I'll share that with you all at some point as well. So that's the Fury. Now, I did want to cover a couple of other housekeeping things. So some of you may recall we did a giveaway on one of the recent shows. So I think it was the Wondercon show, where I challenged everyone to go through the video and see if they could find Rob Liefeld. Now, one individual did manage to find, only one person managed to find Rob in those clips, and that is Spiderfire 0438. Now, the reason why I put this book out here is Spiderfire has won this book, and I will be getting it out to him this week. So well done in terms of finding Rob. For everyone on the video who hadn't gone and checked it out, again, I'll put a link in the description. But essentially, Rob Liefeld, I missed him completely. I was walking around the show at Wondercon filming, and went up to the original art booth that you'll see in my Wondercon walkthrough. And he's literally there, standing there, talking to one of the guys, looks up at me. I'm completely oblivious. And I just walk past him and start filming this original art. So hilarious interaction. It was at 12:57 in the hoodie. So I'll put a link in the description to the original video. But yeah, wanted to share with you all that the first giveaway for the channel has been won, and this great Captain Britain book is on its way to Spiderfire 0438. So congratulations on that. And then one of the other things I wanted to mention is that we are now at 435 subscribers, which is a huge thank you to everyone who's subscribed. We're on the way now to 500. So I think next week I'll be looking to give you a sense of a 500 giveaway that we're thinking of doing for the show. So yeah, I will be doing that 500 subscriber giveaway next week. I'll be coming up with an idea or some books that we'll be able to give away, or some items that we'll be able to give away to the 500 when we hit that 500 subscriber mark, which is quite the landmark. Interestingly enough, I have been doing this now for 6 months, would you believe? So I want to again thank everyone for all the support. It's been an incredible ride. It's been so much fun meeting everybody. Would like to do more things with the community in terms of this channel. So again, I'm putting a shout out to the fellow YouTubers. We'd love to have you on the show. I really enjoy the banter in terms of different books and showing off different books. And again, if you can't make it onto the show, by all means, leave us some comments down below and let us know some of the books that you'd like to see, some of the books that you've picked up during the week that you've got. And with that, I'll actually tell you about one of the comments that we got. Again, this comes from Charlie Dog 7683, who put me onto the portfolios. He really enjoyed the Warren magazine's review that we did last week when we run through the creepies and the eeries that I picked up. And so what I thought would be good, and he asked to see more of these 19 these Bronze Age Curtis magazine reprints that Marvel did. I think Zombie Tales, Vampire Tales is this one here. Dracula Lives. And so I thought it would be good to share this batch of books that I've had for a little while. But again, I don't think I've showed it on the channel. So I thought it would be good to sort of have a quick flip through these in particular. And the reason for that is, let's just bring this up in a better view. These are very interesting books. Now, the thing that was great about the Curtis Magazines format is it wasn't subject to the Comics Code Authority. And so Marvel and the writing teams and the creative teams could be a bit more racy, interesting, horrific. And so that's why you would find a lot more of these horror anthologies in magazine format. So I'm increasingly becoming obsessed in finding these because they're a fascinating snapshot of what could have been had the Comics Code not been in place in comics. And they're quite mature stories which sort of lead quite well into how comics in the 80s and 90s would sort of evolve into. They're not as graphic, obviously, because you can't see any blood, but you'll see when we go through these titles. But what's also interesting with these titles is just the creative teams that sort of were brought across. So in this issue, for instance, we've got stories by Chris Claremont and Doug Mensch. You've got this cover by Boris Vallejo, which again, amazing cover with Lilith, daughter of Dracula, on the front cover. And on the interior here, you've got a Pablo Marcos issue with Morbius and Lilith again. But yeah, Marv Wolfman, editor of this magazine. Roy Thomas was, John Romita was the art director in this instance. But again, you can see these stories here. So Marv Wolfman plot for Lilith, Dracula's daughter, script by Steve Gerber, art by Bob Brown, and embellishments by Tom Palmer. And you can really see the Tom Palmer influence here. But again, you can see these are great stories, black and white. I'll show you in a minute. There's some really interesting. Again, you got Lilith and Dracula, the Pablo Marcos sketch, and a little bit of a sort of text story there for you. Then you've got a Chris Claremont and a Bassal's art story. And again, you can really get a sense of how gruesome some of these got. Again, bodies with spiked through their blood everywhere. So that's the sort of thing you wouldn't get in a Marvel comic in those days, especially with the Comic Code Authority. So seeing this, you can understand why they did what they did in terms of bringing them into the magazine format. And again, most of these are all vampire stories. Again, there's a Doug Mensch story here, Blood Death. But the art, the stories are pretty fantastic. And again, vampires everywhere in this, as you'd expect. Some really gory bloodletting here in terms of the characters. Then you'd get some features on things like Dark Shadows. John from Bronze and Modern Gods would love this, one would assume. Covering off a house ad for Dracula Lives. Another story by Doug Mensch. Short story by Doug Mensch. Again, great art. Vampires everywhere. Just what you want from a 1970s book. Some great photos with advertisements for some really scary pieces. Movies. Tales of the Zombie ad there. Again, another one of those that I need to go and find based on Charlie Dogg's recommendations. So that's issue 6. I do have a number of issues here. Now, again, some of these are just fascinating just to flip through more than anything else. So this one has Morbius stories. This is issue 7. Again, look at the way this is created. Beautiful stuff. Interesting photo page with the Morbius living vampire logo. I think the story from this is Don McGregor with art by Tom Sutton. But again, you can see just how great these stories are and sit within Marvel continuity as well. But great to sort of have these rather much more extreme stories with blood that you wouldn't be getting in your normal comic book. But yeah, just fabulous artwork here. Then you get ads for Crazy, which I think was another Marvel mag at the time, and there's an interesting one coming up. To become a vampire, to live immortally through the ages, that's all he ever wished to be until the undead came. Another Doug Mensch story here, Sip the Sweet Poison, where a guy drinks blood and eventually turns into a vampire. Some more classic monster ads, Planet of the Apes ads. Look at those. Then you've got another Doug Mensch story, Bats. Again, pretty gruesome stuff here. Good to see. Artwork not as on par with some of the others there, but still good. Kung Fu, so Iron Fist house ad for Iron Fist 1. Agents of the Road, another Doug Mensch story. Beautiful artwork. Very similar to it's Howard Chaykin. That's why. Wondered why I was like looking at it and going, wow, that is almost Sienkiewicz like. But yeah, very reminiscent of Howard Chaykin in the 70s when he sort of Star Wars work. So that's a great piece to have. Fantastic. Look at that. No wonder I was you can just tell with some of these classic artists, just their style is just unmistakable. Beautiful stuff. More house ads for Dracula Lives, Kung Fu Special. This amazing one here for 3D Marvel action, superhero action scenes, house ad here. $2.70 for a Spider-Man and Hulk poster. Then you've got Mego figures here. Brilliant stuff. Vampire Tales, Morbius and Blade. Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. And then Special People ad. So that's number 7. And then we have Vampire Tales issue 8. It's almost obscured by that UK price sticker there. And again, great content inside. Stanley Presents. Look at this. Mike Roxburgh and Frank Chiamonte art. Written by Don McGregor. Morbius story. Great artwork. Looking forward to going through and rereading these. Again, given the fact they're in continuity. Tales of the Zombie, house ad. Then we have Carla and Jerry Conway story, The Vendetta, with art on this is quite good. Art by Joe Staton. Interesting. Quite like the style of this. Very good. More back issue sales here for Marvel Masterpieces. So you can go back and get your Haunt of Horror, Monster Madness. Another story by Carla and Jerry Conway with art by Alfredo Acala. Again, look at the art on these. That one in particular is pretty impressive. Painted artwork, or black and white painted artwork. Vampires passing away. Then you get a story with Blade. So Marv Wolfman wrote this one with art by Tony Zuniga. The Blade story, Beware the Legions. Great story here. Always good to see early Blades out there. And that's it for issue number 8 Then we have issue 9. Only one more after this. But again, look at that cover. It's fantastic. So here's the cover artist on this one. The cover artist, Jad, apparently. Yeah. The Vampire at the Inn, Vampire Tales, another Blade story. This is Blood Moon, plot by Marv Wolfman, written by Chris Claremont. Another great Blade story to add to the mix here. Again, probably in continuity with the other stories that you'd see. Another Doug Mensch story, art by Russ Heath. House ads for Monsters Unleashed and Haunt of Horror. But yeah, I would be urging anyone to go back and look for these books because they're great to have. Another The Bleeding Time, written by Jerry and Carla Conway. Again, this looks like a much more futuristic vampire story. But yeah, nonetheless, vampires everywhere. And then this caught my attention when I was looking through these magazines. Uncle Stan wants you to buy Crazy. I hadn't seen that before, but hilarious to think of Uncle Stan in an Uncle Sam type outfit, looking quite Trump-esque actually in his styling. So fascinating stuff to see that house out of Stan wanting you to buy Crazy. Then we have The Bloodstalker, which written by Stan's brother Larry Lieber, with art by Jesus Blasco. And again, just love these brilliant black and white stories that you get. And then to close us off, Shards of a Rainbow Crystal, another Doug Mensch story with some fantastic art by Tony D. Zuniga. Look at that, brilliant stuff. House ad for Vampire Tales, some Planet of the Apes merch with that classic Planet of the Apes image there. More house ads. Ads. And then to close us off, we will show off the last Vampire Tales that I've got currently. I'm going to finish off the collection. I think there are only 11 Vampire Tales in the total run, so just need, I think, 6 more to finish off the collection. I'll also see if I can get some higher grade, but yeah, I only need another 6 to finish this whole run off. So there you go. More of the same. Beautiful black and white ink. Doug Mensch story again. Morbius the Living Vampire. This is a story in 3 parts, this one, that spreads throughout the whole issue. So this is the first phase of the story. Again, you can see, look at that amazing art. Really captures Morbius. It's morbing time. Then we get another story, Doug Mensch story, A House of Pleasure, A House of Death. Again, quite an interesting subject to have. Wouldn't have got away with that in a Marvel comic, but yes, it can certainly happen in a Marvel magazine. So yes, I'm surprised they didn't have mature audiences on some of these, but you would imagine. I can't imagine parents buying their kids Vampire Tales in the day. What's this? Show. Stan looks like Apollo Creed from Rocky 3. He does indeed. It's quite the stunning look. When I saw that, it was just like blown away. I wouldn't mind seeing a color photo of that because I guarantee it would be crazy. How much do you spend per week reading? Do you have a set number of days or times to read? Not really. I just read as and when I get chance. Like, for instance, last night before the show, I knew I was going to be doing the show. So I went through and read a number of these stories from the different books to get a sense of them all, and reread them. And actually, that's the piece that struck me, was the writing's really good, particularly in these more mature books. And it's a real harkback, as if the Comic Code Authority didn't exist, or the seduction of the innocent never happened, and they just removed everything into another format. So it's great to see, and I love setting aside time to read stuff. The thing that I spend the most time reading at the moment, though, is more around the history of the books, rather than the actual books themselves. But I do have a number of trade paperbacks coming through. So, for instance, I recently got The Watchmen, so I'll be reading that again. I've got my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collected edition, which I'm going to be going through and rereading. I've got Crisis on Infinite Earths I want to go through and reread. So there's a whole stack. I'll just literally go and find something that I've been missing or haven't read for a while, or is new, and I'll just sit down. I don't set aside any specific time. It's more when I can get the time in between YouTubing. I'm sure those of you who do the YouTube piece know as well just how much time this hobby can take when you're doing content as well as actually enjoying the books. So I do read, but it's not as much as I'd like. So, and love some Mego figures. Back in the day, I'd love to get some Mego figures, particularly new in box, so you can display them. For the moment, though, I'll settle with my Rom the Space Knight figure, which I'm sure some of you have seen in the background over the video. So, yeah, great to hear you. If you get one, let me know, because I love those figures. But again, toys would be another dreadfully expensive rabbit hole to go down. I did buy a Millennium Falcon, not a Millennium Falcon, Slave One Star Wars Palatoy set, and ended up selling that because just the room to display those things it's pretty bad. Comics, at least with comics, you can put them in boxes, stack them, and then pull them out when you really want to read them, and they don't take up that much space in comparison to toys. But all the toy collectors I see, they just don't have any space at all. And as I mentioned here, this is the second phase of that Morbius story. So there's lots of different separate stories just placed in between. So there's another Jerry Conway story here, Blind Spot. And then to finish us off, the third phase of that Morbius story. And that's your lot, unfortunately, for Vampire Tales this week. I do have a whole bunch of books coming from the UK this week. So it'll be good to see what we get. So I think next week will be an embarrassment of riches, I'm afraid. So stay tuned. Join us next week. There will be a number of UK books, I think, coming next week. But that's all I have for you this week. As always, thank you very much for joining. If you've been in the live stream, if you haven't and enjoyed the show, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you get to see more content. As mentioned, love to sort of any ideas or any books. What I'd like to try and do is make this a bit more interactive. So again, any books that you got over the last week, please feel free to put them in either the comments or the chat over the next coming weeks. And with that, I will leave you all to the rest of your weekends. To anyone not in Australia, and to those in Australia, good morning. Welcome to Monday. It's a brand new week. What's in store for all of us? Until next time, take care, and I will see you very soon, hopefully.